right, so our next step is to do our mountains, and we are going to mix up our color for it. So I've got some white, I've got a little bit of the blue, and I've got some black. So we're making a gray that has a blue tone to it. I am definitely going to need more white paint. Oops. And you could mix this with a brush if you want. I find that if I mix it with a palette knife, I end up wasting a lot less paint, because with a brush I'd get a ton of paint sitting in my brush that I would end up having to clean off my brush before I could even paint, because it was just far too thick for what I was needing. I'm gonna add a little bit more blue in there, and we're gonna be needing the color for both the back mountains as well as the front ones. So the back ones is going to be they're going to be a lighter shade than the front mountains. So we need to make 2 shades of the same color. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make the first shade, and then I'm just going to add some white to create the second one. I really added too much black at the beginning, which is why I end up keep having to grab more white here. But I'm liking this color. I want to add just a touch more blue to it. And then I'm going to add white to this side to make the lighter shade. And I'm making far more paint than I really need. I tend to not like to run out of paint, because having to mix the exact same shade a second time, it's going to be hard to get exactly the same shade. You could get a bunch of different paint colors, so then you don't have to do any mixing, but by doing it this way, you get to know how the colors interact with each other, and the other thing is you just get to know, oops, that does not need to be there. You just get to know how to mix your colors. It's going to end up being more economical to not have to buy a lot of paints, to be able to start with primaries and go from there. Primaries and black and white and go from there. All right, so I'm going to do my mountains. So I'm doing the back range now. So the one thing with mountains is you want to make sure that I'm not doing zigzags, and I want to have them different heights. Sometimes they're going to have little jogs in them. Sometimes they're going to be a little bit hilly on the way down. All right, and the first pass, that it is nothing pretty in any way, shape, or form. Second pass, I'm going to go all the way around. If I want it to be a little bit more rigid, I can do that. Basically, I'm wanting to make sure that I don't see any of the yellow below that's underneath it, because mountains definitely don't have a yellow undertone. All right, any of the places that I do see a little bit of yellow, I'm just going to add a touch of paint, and then I'm just going to fix this guy right here. That had a weird jog to it. There we go. A little bit of yellow in there. Last thing for this mountain range is I'm going to take some white here. I'm going to clean my brush a little bit here. Put some white on my brush, and then I'm going to go from the bottom just to get a little bit of lightness at the bottom of the mountains there. A little bit more there. There we go. Take that off. Blend this a little bit more. And if you're not comfortable coming up with mountains on your own, what you could do is just go look up some images on Google and do it from that there. A bit in there. I'm getting a bit of a ridge of paint on the side there, so I want to get that off. There we go. So I'm going to let that dry for a few minutes, but I will be back in the same video and we will do the front mountains. I just want to give that paint a chance to dry before I start painting on top of it. All right, our first range isn't 100% dry, but it is dry enough to start working on the second one. So you'll notice I'm working on it this way. I just find it easier. If you find it easier to do your mountains by having it facing you like this, you absolutely can do that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I just find that I have better brush control for this part if I'm working on the side. So I just did a little hill there. I'm gonna do another one. Right there in front of the mountain. So right now they're fairly flat. Once these are completely dry, we're gonna be adding some highlights to them, a little bit of snow. Mainly what we're working on is getting a solid foundation of color and a nice mountain line that you're liking. Because if you don't like the mountain line, you can't really fix it once everything is dry. I mean, well, technically you could gesso over the whole thing and start over, but that's not fun. All right, and then another one. I'm gonna do another one right here. And once again, make sure you do varying heights. Some that are a little bit jaggedy. You don't want them all looking exactly the same, and you also don't want like zigzags all over your project there. All right, I think I'm liking that. I'm just making sure that I've got a smooth coat of paint over the whole thing. And then same as before, and I'm cleaning my brush in between, same as before, I'm just gonna take some white at the bottom and just lighten the bottom, because after we're done our mountains and our sky, we're gonna be adding a tree line, and I want a little bit lighter base for that to be on there. Get some more white. And you'll notice between videos, I clean off my palette completely so I have a new surface to start off with, mainly because I wait for everything to completely dry. There is a product you can get, or a palette you can get, it's called a Stay Wet palette, and it will keep your paints wet. So if the fact that I am wasting paint is driving you nuts, which it kind of drives me nuts, I don't have a Stay Wet palette yet, so this is just what I have to do. The paints would completely dry between videos anyways if I were to leave them on here, so I just clean them up when I'm done while they're easier to clean up. All right, there we go. It doesn't have to be completely white. I definitely don't want it to be completely white, but I just don't want, I want a nice gradation between the dark and the light there. There we go. All right, I'm gonna let that completely dry. And then we are gonna finish the highlights on our mountains, a little bit of snow, and then we're gonna add our sun to completely finish our mountains and our sky.